afternoon, everyone. So, in online lecture series, we are now today we will be taking anticholinergic agents. With the learning objectives, in this particular session, we will finish with that all learners should know the classification of various anticholinergic agents available, their pharmacokinetic properties, various atropine substitutes, and therapeutic uses and pharmacological actions of anticholinergic agents. This lecture will be taken in two parts. So today we will start with the first part of anticholinergic agents. So as you all know that all drugs that block or inhibit the actions of acetylcholine in the parasympathetic nervous system, they are called anticholinergic. They are also called cholinergic blocking agents or parasympatholytics. Anticholinergic agent is a more proper term because as such we can see there is never a lysis of parasympathetic activity as a whole. Other can also referred as them anti-muscarinics also because cholinergic receptors are of two types, muscarinic and nicotinic. So most of the time atropine and other substances, they block all type of muscarinic receptors, whereas nicotinic neuronal and nicotinic neuromuscular receptors have been blocked by agents and they are called neuromuscular blocking agents or ganglion blocking agents. So as such, antimuscarinics can also be called as anticholinergics. Some common muscarinic receptor sites are heart, salivary gland, smooth muscles of GIT, genitourinary tract and urinary bladder. So now we will see the classification. So as a whole, anticholinergic drugs, they are divided into muscarinic antagonists, atropinic agents or parasympatholytics. As a whole, they are divided into natural alkaloids, semi-synthetic derivatives and synthetic derivatives. So natural alkaloids are atropine, hyoscine, also known as scopolamine. Semi-synthetic derivatives are atropine, methonitrate, hometropine, hyoscine, ipratropium bromide, tiotropium bromide. Then madriatics. Synthetic compounds can also be classified according to their system or organ system where they affect, like mydriatics, mainly cyclopentolate, tropicamide, then vesicoselective, the drugs which act on urinary bladder, preferentially oxybutynine, flavoxide, tolterodine, then drugs which are having central anticholinergic blocking property and they are mainly used in drug-induced Parkinsonism like trihexyphenidyl or benzexol, procyclidine, piperidine. Also another category is anti-secretory compounds or anti-spasmolytic compounds. So there are quaternary compounds and tertiary compounds. So in tertiary compounds we have dicyclomine, valethamate, pyrenzepine. In quaternary compounds, propenthyline, oxyphenonium, clydinium, pipenjaloate, methyl bromide, isopropamide and glycopyrrolate. So natural alkaloids. As we all know, these agents are derived from mainly Solanaceae family of as in botanical classification, like Dhatura stramonium and so there are Dhatura stramonium, Atropa belladonna and these are the primary compound also commonly known as thorn apple. Thorn apple and these are the other agents. So atropine is natural alkaloid and another is hyoscine, also known as scopolamine. In semi-synthetic derivatives, there are homoatropine, hyoscine butyl bromide, atropine methonitrate and ipratropium bromide. Synthetic one again, we can revise mydriatics, cyclopentolate, tropicamide, antispasmodic, dicyclomine, pyrenzipine, antisecretory, dicyclomine, pyrenzipine, glycopyrrolate, propenthylene. Vesicoselective, tolterodine, oxybutynin. Centrally acting anticholinergics for Parkinson's-like disease, specifically drug-induced Parkinsonism, trihexyphenidyl. These compounds, these synthetic compounds, usually they are more potent than their parent compounds. And they lack CNS activity because of their quaternary nature. That's why they are less lipid soluble and they are having poor penetration in brain. Primarily, mechanism of action, these all are competitive antagonists. As you must remember, you must be remembering that these agents, they act by blocking action of acetylcholine on muscarinic receptors. So they compete with acetylcholine, they block acetylcholine at the muscarinic receptors in the parasympathetic nervous system. The blockade is reversible blockade at these receptors by competitive binding, and reversal can be done by increasing the quantity of acetylcholine or other agonists at the receptor site. Will lead to the decrease in blockade. Like in competitive antagonism, it's a reversible one. Whenever we increase the quantity of agonist, there will be reversal of blockade. This concept is very important. You will see gradually that sometimes the poisoning or excessive dose caused by these compounds can lead to some ADR and that adverse drug reactions, and these effects can be reversed by giving parasympathomimetic agonist agent. Pharmacological actions of these compounds. We will see atropine as a prototype of these anticholinergic action first. Then we will, after completion of atropine, we will see the individual atropine substitute or other anticholinergic compounds and their differences with prototype agents. So it is a prototype antimuscarinic drug derived from Atropa belladonna. It is also known as deadly nightshade, and Datura stramonium, that is thorn apple. Historically, during the Italian Renaissance, dilated pupils were considered as beautiful, mark of beautifulness. So ladies used to instill this particular agent and eye, and because of these dilated pupils, they will be looking beautiful, and that's why the name came belladonna or beautiful lady. So purpose was cosmetic. So we will start with their action on individual system. First we will see their action on eye. Like they will cause dilatation of pupil. That means mydriasis. Also cause paralysis of accommodation. That means cycloplegia. So eyes will be dilated, and additional to this, they will be fixed. There is loss of accommodation. That means eye will be fixed for far vision, leading to blurring of vision and because of this dilated pupil, there will be scattering of light and this will lead to photophobia. Also, cyclopesia, that means the near objects or near letters or near vision will be blurred because of cyclopesia. Third action is dryness of eyes. So there are three major actions on eye. First is mydriasis, second is paralysis of accommodation or cyclopesia, and third is dryness in the eye. These are the cross-sectional sections of eye. You can see here that eye is this mydriasis and cyclopesia. Because of this mydriasis, there will be increase in intraocular tension. Normally, in individuals with no other pathological changes in eye or not with normal angle, this increase in intraocular tension will not cause any adverse effect or any problem. But if a person is having glaucoma, then this mydriasis or dilatation of pupil can give increase in intraocular tension, which can be troublesome. This is another way of showing these all components. Like you can see the anatomy of eye. These are the trabecular meshwork. This is cornea. This is anterior chamber. This is the muscle dilated pupillae, and this is sphincter pupillae. And this is the location of lens, ciliary epithelium, and ciliary muscle. Ciliary epithelium is having beta receptors, and ciliary muscles are having muscarinic receptors. So in other diagram, you can see that long ciliary nerves, they are sympathetic, and these are the sphincter pupillae muscle. This is eye. Cholinergic innervation fiber. So short ciliary nerve is carrying the parasympathetic fibers. This is ciliary ganglia. Next. Where relaxation of dilated pupillae is occurred and contraction of sphincter pupillae done by muscarinic agonist. And adrenergic neuron blockers. For how much time this effect of anticholinergic remains in eye? Like effect of scopolamine, if we plot a graph where x-axis will be taken as a time and y-axis as pupillary diameter. So you can see that ciliary muscles recover earlier than sphincter pupillary. That means a spasm of accommodation will be reversed earlier than the dilatation. So accommodation will come first and then dilatation. So duration of action of atropine and scopolamine, they last for generally 7 to 10 days. Atropine substitutes with short durations that's why we prefer short duration atropine substitute for various type of diagnostic procedures. These effects can be reversed by cholinergic agonists like pilocarpine or anticholinesterases like physostigmine. Now, let's see the action on heart. So, anticholinergic agents, they cause tachycardia or increase in heart rate due to blockade of M2 receptors on SA node. Muscarinic 2 receptors which are present in sinoatrial node. So they act by inhibiting or blocking the action of acetylcholine on these muscarinic receptors. So action of acetylcholine on these receptors is inhibitory. That means decrease in heart rate. But by blockage of these actions, atropine and like substances, they will cause tachycardia. Although it doesn't have significant effect on cardiac output and blood pressure. But resting heart rate could increase by 30 to 40 beats per minute. Effect will depend upon vagal tone. That means in persons where vagal tone is high, means young adults, these effects are marked. But these effects of increase in heart rate will be less in individuals like young children or in older individuals or elderly. Because in these extremes of phases, that parasympathetic tone is relatively less. Sometimes it may produce some type of cardiac arrhythmias. Let's see effects on atropine on blood vessels. No significant effects are there because most of the resistance vessels, they lack cholinergic innervations. But blood vessels, it can increase. Blood pressure may increase because of tachycardia and stimulation, CNS effect of these, like stimulation of vasomotor center. They can completely block fall in BP, which is induced by cholinergic agents. In gastrointestinal tract, the tone and amplitude of smooth muscles of gastrointestinal tract are reduced. So there will be passage of gut content will be slowed, more prone for less activity or less movements can lead to constipation. But if there are spasm or colic, then these spasms can be reduced with the help of these agents. Spasms are because of excessive contraction of muscle and which can be antagonized by these anticholinergic agents. All secretions are reduced like acid, pepsin and mucus secretion, they are reduced. In smooth muscles, various smooth muscles, they are having muscarinic action, specifically bronchial smooth muscle. So by antagonizing cholinergic innervation or cholinergic receptors, they will cause bronchodilation. They block bronchoconstriction by histamine, bradykinin as well as prostaglandin also. Ipratropium and tiotropium, they are having more marked effect on these types of smooth muscles. Atropine decreases normal tone and amplitude of urethra and bladder. It may precipitate urinary retention in the elderly individuals which are having difficulty in voiding because of benign prostatic hypertrophy. In central nervous system, they stimulate medullary centers like vagal center, respiratory and vasomotor center. They depress vestibular excitation, and that's why they are being used in for prevention of motion sickness. All the exocrine secretions are blocked, like salivary, lacrimal and sweat glands. All the secretions are blocked, and there will be unpleasant dryness of mouth, which is the hallmark of atropine, toxicity or initiation of ADR. So there will be dryness of mouth, then there will be respiratory mucous membrane and dryness of skin. In respiratory tract, obviously there will be thickening of mucus. Because of these action, there could be initiation of fever because they will block sweating. That's why there is no other mechanism for loss of heat, and they are also stimulate the thermoregulatory center in CNS. So that can lead to fever. Because of these dryness or decrease in secretion or relaxation of muscle, there will be difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in talking. They also suppress cholinergic overactivity in basal ganglia, like tremors and rigidity. So in Parkinson's, tremors and rigidity, they are relieved because Parkinson's is because of imbalance between dopaminergic and cholinergic system, and by anticholinergics, by blocking this cholinergic system, more symptoms like tremor and rigidity in Parkinson's, they are suppressed. Decreased concentration and memory. You must be remember that in the Alzheimer's disease, you are using cholinergic agonist as nootropic drugs. So, decreased concentration and memory can be there with use of centrally acting anticholinergic agents. Others like cortical excitation, restlessness, disorientation, hallucinations and delirium, they can all be there. Ultimately, in increase in high dosage, there could be respiratory depression and coma. Their serious stimulant action will lead to restlessness, irritability, disorientation, hallucinations and delirium. On further high doses, stimulation can be followed by depression leading to paralysis, coma and cardiovascular collapse and respiratory failure. Other effects are rise in body temperature, specifically in children because of blockade of sweating. There is stimulation of temperature regulatory centers. Whenever they are administered locally, they have some local anesthetic effect on eye. Let's see some of the pharmacokinetic peculiarities of these agents. There are alkaloids and tertiary amines. Which are these agents? Alkaloids and tertiary amines, they are very well absorbed orally from mucosa. Hyoscine, also known as scopolamine, can also be absorbed transdermally. That's why it is used in treatment of motion sickness by transdermal patch. Tertiary amines can also cross blood-brain barrier because of their high lipid solubility property. They are widely distributed and metabolized in liver. Their actions decline rapidly except eye. quaternary amines. Obviously, because they are less lipid soluble, because of their quaternary amine structure, they are incompletely absorbed orally. They can penetrate conjunctiva. CNS penetration is negligible. Most of the drugs are excreted unchanged, and some portion is metabolized by liver. Now, we move on to clinical applications of this prototype agents. So, therapeutic uses, it's better to remember these anticholinergic agent classification according to the system they are being used. It is easy and also it is more relevant whenever we learn them, their pharmacological action as system-wise and their therapeutic uses also system-wise. So this is very relevant also and easy also. So first we will see the therapeutic uses related with central nervous system disorders. First is Parkinson's disease, specifically with Parkinson's conditions where dopamine receptors already have been blocked by some antipsychotic or some pre-treatment like drug-induced Parkinsonism. They are being used like benztropine and trihexyphenidyl. Or in Parkinson's disease person who cannot take levodopa because of either some adverse effect or some other problem, so they can be used. They are helpful in decreasing salivation, spasticity and tremors. Second central nervous system uses motion sickness, which is very common and most commonly used agent is scopolamine or hyoscine. And third is other drug-induced extrapyramidal reactions. Reactions because of those drugs which can block dopamine receptors, and there are symptoms which are related with extrapyramidal system like antipsychotics. Now cardiovascular system uses are atropine is used to increase heart rate in symptomatic bradycardias. Bradycardias with symptoms. Plus, also in sinus node dysfunctions like sinus bradycardias. Then symptomatic second degree heart block. Symptomatic second degree heart block or sinus or nodal bradycardia because of myocardial infarction. In myocardial infarction also you can see these sinus bradycardia. That's why in these places anticholinergic like atropine is life-saving. Respiratory system, they are mainly used in bronchial asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Why? Because they decrease secretion from nose, mouth, pharynx and bronchi. They will relax smooth muscle in bronchi and bronchioles. They also decrease airway resistance and they cause bronchodilation. For respiratory agents, which agents are they are used to treat exercise-induced bronchospasm, chronic bronchitis, asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, that is COPD. More preferred agent as ipratropium as inhalational agent or tiotropium. Gastrointestinal tract, blockade of parasympathetic nervous system, it will release in decrease in secretion, relaxation of smooth muscle, decrease gastrointestinal tract motility and peristalsis. So these are the conditions like in peptic ulcer. A specific agent M1 blocker is being used, that is pyrazipine as antispasmodic. Butyl scopolamine can be used or irritable bowel disease, propenthylline, and gastrointestinal tract hypersecretory states also these anticholinergics can be used. Urologic disorders, disorders related with urinary tract system like antispasmodic urinary colic condition. So they can be used in overactive bladder and urinary incontinence. Preferred agents we all revised like oxybutynin. There is one condition is detrusor hyperreflexia and also in enuresis. They will increase bladder capacity, they will decrease bladder pressure. This is the rationale behind the use of anticholinergic in various urologic disorders. Ophthalmologic disorders like refractory error testing. Whenever we go for the myopia or hypermetropia checking, then also we need pupillary dilatation. Whenever you want to examine fundus as a pathognomic of some other diseases like hypertension, diabetes mellitus or some other visual disturbances, then also you need a good pupillary dilatation. The agents are hometropine and tropicamide. So accurate measurement of refractory error in uncooperative patients like children. Also for examination of retina, mydriasis is being produced. Now we can see the side effect of various anticholinergic agents. If you understand the pharmacological actions, then you can very well understand what could be the side effects of these agents. Because side effects mainly because of exaggeration of their pharmacological actions. So first body system is cardiovascular system. Because they are used to increase heart rate in bradycardia, sometimes you can see excessive increase in heart rate or dysarrhythmias. In central nervous system, we can have CNS excitation, restlessness, irritability, hallucinations, disorientation, delirium-like state. Then in genitourinary system, there is urinary retention. For glands, it is decreased sweating leading to increase in body temperature. Respiratory, there will be decrease in bronchial secretion. Their toxicity is also very common, like accidental, homicidal, suicidal, there will be overdose. They are plant products or even as medicine they can be taken accidentally in higher doses, and anticholinergic overdose syndromes are found in like belladonna poisoning, Atropa belladonna or thorn apple poisoning. So there will be history of consumption of seeds or berries of belladonna or dhatura plant. Is characterized by hyperthermia, delirium, dry mouth, tachycardia, urinary retention, seizures, coma and respiratory arrest may occur. Treatment is gastric lavage with tannic acid, cold sponging to reduce the body temperature with ice bags or cold sponging. Then physostigmine, which is anticholinesterase agent, plus it is also a tertiary compound. That means it can cross blood-brain barrier. So physostigmine, which have CNS effects, can be used. It should be used subcutaneous or IV. Diazepam, if there is excessive dosing and convulsions are there, so diazepam can be used to control convulsions. There is a popular saying like patient with belladonna poisoning gives some peculiar 5 features. like hot as a hair. So body temperature has increased because of loss of sweating. Then dry as a bone. Then blind as a bat. Like bat, it can't see properly, there will be blurring of vision. And red as a beetroot because of hyperthermia. And because of vasodilation. Why vasodilation? Because of excessive heat which is generated in the body, there is no loss of heat. So this is because of compensatory mechanism done by body as vasodilation to lose heat. And mad as header, like delirium. So there will be disorientation. So there are some relative, some absolute contraindication of these anticholinergic compounds. And now you can understand that why in these conditions they are completely contraindicated, or we have to be very cautious in using anticholinergic agents in these particular conditions. Glaucoma, because by doing mydriasis or pupillary dilatation, there will be increase in intraocular tension. So we should avoid using them in patients with glaucoma. Prostatic hypertrophy, because their urinary retention property, relaxation of bladder is there. Then urinary tract obstruction caused by anything. Then gastrointestinal tract obstruction. Then infectious diarrhea. Reflux, because they will cause relaxation of smooth muscle leading to constipation. And in infectious diarrhea, if propulsive movements are blocked, there will be accumulation of toxins from infectious organisms like toxic megacolon. Then reflux esophagitis, because they will relax in sphincter tone. So reflux esophagitis will increase with use of these anticholinergic agents. And tachyarrhythmias means arrhythmias because of increase in heart rate. Angina patient, because heart rate will be increased. So angina is a coronary heart disease. That means in person who are having angina, there is demand and supply of oxygen in myocardium is compromised. So by increasing heart rate, we can precipitate attack of angina and MI. And atropine increases, or anticholinergic agents, they increase heart rate. Then hyperthyroid patient, because they are already having hyperdynamic circulation and increased heart rate. So there could be chances of coronary heart disease or precipitation of angina or MI in this patient and in pregnant individual. So now we can go on to some individual agents, their property. In next lecture we will see these in detail, but let's see. So atropine is a prototype drug and which is antidote in organophosphorus poisoning. Ipratropium bromide is useful. They are life-saving in organophosphorus poisoning. Apart from the oximes, atropinization of patient is necessary in patients with organophosphorus poisoning. Ipratropium is more useful in rhinorrhea. Also, it is excellent bronchodilator, so can be used in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and asthma. Scopolamine, it can cross blood-brain barrier, so it depresses CNS activity, causes amnesia, drowsiness, euphoria, relaxation and sleep. So also good for, it is used for motion sickness, given parenterally, orally and transdermally. Scopolamine, also known as hyoscine. Then benztropine, temporary use in Parkinson's disease. It is useful for dystonic reactions, which is type of extrapyramidal side effects of various agents, drugs which are having dopamine blocking properties, like antipsychotics or also known as neuroleptics. Trihexyphenidyl It is also used for treating extrapyramidal symptoms by some antipsychotics and contraindicated in glaucoma. Then fluvoxamine, they relieve dysuria, urgency, frequency and pain in genitourinary infection. Then oxybutynin had direct antispasmodic effect on smooth muscle and anticholinergic effects. The smooth muscle and decreased frequency of voiding will be there. So with this, we will complete this part 1 of anticholinergic agent. Tomorrow, we will have second part of anticholinergic agents. Thank you.